Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Breggy, your superintendent, and I'd like to formally welcome you to our construction town hall this evening. I'd like to start off by welcoming our Board of Education, our cabinet members, principals, leadership team, Founder Solari team, and all of you that are joining us today. I really appreciate that you are taking time out and being here this evening. Your support and your partnership is greatly appreciated. I'm joined this presentation by our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Mr. Guzman, our Executive Director of Communications and Strategic Initiatives, Ms. Starkins, who will also be moderating our question time, and most importantly, our Executive Director of Construction Services, Mr. Karat, who will introduce the rest of our guests. This evening is a town hall format rather than at a board meeting. As such, we will spend approximately 30 minutes hearing a comprehensive update from our construction team, and then about 45 minutes or so to answer all of your questions. Please be aware that this meeting is being recorded. We need to tell you that so that the wider community can come back and review the conversation if they're not able to join us this evening. If you do not feel comfortable being on camera, please feel free to turn off your camera on your computer. No anonymous questions will be taken. I'll give you a little bit more information in just a few minutes about the Q&A portion. But for right now, I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Will Karat.
Thank you, Dr. Brady, and good evening, everyone. My name is Will Karat. I am the Executive Director of Construction Services for the district. We'll be giving you a presentation on our current construction projects. And to help me with that, we have Mr. Amin Solari here from Founder Solari, and he'll be walking us through these slides as well. So we will get right into it. All right. Sorry. Here we go. So we'll begin with Elrodale Elementary School. What I'd like to do first here is just go over kind of an overview of the site. Many of you are probably aware of this campus, but I'll just go through and describe what we have going on here. So the construction plans call for a brand new soccer field located in the bottom left here. And then as you go around, you'll see we have basketball courts in the play area. And in this area, we'll also have a tetherball, a ball wall, foursquare, and other activities for the kids to do. And then starting from the top right, we have building A. Below it is building B, building C, right up here towards the top, building D, and building E. On this next slide, I'll kind of describe what types of services and classes are held in each building. But just to give you a sense, we also have parking that goes around the school here, and also a play area here as well. So this is just kind of like a rough outline of what's in each building. As you can see, building A through E, those are the different types of services and classes that will be held in each building. I won't go through each one, but I'll leave the slide up here for a few seconds so you can see what's involved in each building. And then on this next slide, I'll let Mr. Solari take it from here on what we're working on currently on this project and where we're going in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Karat, and good evening, everyone. We are getting to the tail end of completion for this project, so a lot of buildings are going through the finish works, installation of the finished material, and getting closer to completion. So as you can see, like building A, the walls are painted, the sound room is completed. In building B, suspended ceiling system is completed, and casework installation is installed, and they are wrapping that up. In building C, the windows, majority of them are installed. I would almost 95% of that. Ceiling tile and casework is installed, and the ceiling grid in first and second floor is done. Building D, flooring is completed, and interior door and hardware is being completed or almost completed as we speak. building E, they are grinding the existing floor and polish to start doing the finishes on the floor. And as far as site utilities, the gas service is ready. So whenever the buildings are 100% complete, we can just connect the buildings and start climatizing them. And water service to the buildings are complete. We are working on the fire water service, and hopefully that will be done before all the buildings are completed and ready to use. As far as the schedule, we are on a schedule to finish this project and have it ready for your next school year. So we are hoping that substantially we are going to be done a lot earlier than this date, but this is the date that the building are going to be 100% complete and ready for use. So by end of June of 2024, we are hoping that this site is going to be wrapped up and ready for the first day of the school in your next school year. Some progress photos. This is an aerial site photo that shows like the level of completion. Obviously, all of these containers that you see and the trailer construction trailers that you see on the south side is going to be removed from the site, and the field will be complete when you start. But this is the level of completion that we have right now. You see some before and after photos, like this is the same exterior of building C. You see how the condition was and how does it look like right now. Some part of this scaffold is already removed. So again, as you see, the buildings are very close or near complete. Same at exterior of building B. As you can see, like it looks very different than what it was when the project started. And this area mainly is waiting for the site work to be performed. I know the dome has a lot of sentimental values for this project. The structure of the dome as we speak is complete. So this is the photo from the day that they craned the main structure or steel structure of the dome up. And right now they are installing the finishes, means that they are getting ready to do the tile work and the stone work on the dome. This is the interior of auditorium. As you can see, again, is very close to be ready to receive the seats. So that would be basically one of the final steps to install the auditorium seating. I think every restroom in the project is almost near complete. They are installing the accessories. Tile works are done. And this is the interior of one of the classrooms. As you can see, the caseworks and the millworks are delivered and being installed as we speak. And some other interior photos. The top one is the main entrance to the administration area, and the bottom one is one of the lobbies to the classrooms.
All right, well, thank you, Amin. We'll now switch over from El Rodeo to the high school. As you can see here, hold on a second. So this is just another overall view of the high school. This was the original schematic plan once construction started. And what we can do here is just go through and show you what the future of the campus may look like. Over here, we have buildings B1 and B2, which have been just recently completed. And as you know, the students are occupying those buildings. We have building A here in the background and the STC building right next to it. This is B3 and B4 that's currently under construction. Basically that's where the theaters are, and a lot of the theater and dance classes will be held in there. Our future projects include fixing up this grand lawn area here along Moreno. And this is our future building C project, which we are still finalizing the design and considering some value engineering concepts for that building. And of course, here we have the swim gym. And then the south side of campus is where our athletic fields will be. We're also working on in this area doing some value engineering. So some of these areas may change, including this area up here where we had tennis courts planned for the future. Like we did for El Rodeo, we have a list here of all the types of services that are provided in each building at the high school. So I'll let you read through those. And then in our current construction projects, as I mentioned, we have the auditorium in B3, along with some offices. And in B4, we have several classrooms for theater, dance, and music. And then building C, our future projects will be athletics, the basketball courts, locker rooms, weight rooms, and also classrooms and offices in that building as well. And here, once again, I'll pass it on to Mr. Solari to go through the progress of the construction.
As you may know, the original schedule for this project also supposed to be a year later than completion date for El Rodeo, and we are still on track to meet that date. We are working very closely with our contractor, despite all the challenges that we have in the field, and we are still dealing with some challenges to make sure we are maintaining that. It's a very complicated project. The structure of the building and as-built drawings that we had in our hands, or the design team had in their hands when they did the design, was not matching the existing condition in the field. So every corner of the site had some discoveries or surprise discoveries that basically impacted the design and needed to redesign and reapproval for government agencies, mainly main DSA. Despite all those challenges, again, we are moving forward. There are a lot of good progresses happening in the field. I don't want to read all of this, but again, B3, the catwalk system is nearly complete in the auditorium ceiling. Scaffolding, which called dance floor, is being lowered, which is a really big milestone for the project. That means that from the top to the bottom, they are making it more complete and make it ready for the finish work. Drywall installation is nearly complete in first and second floor lobby areas. In B4, we have metal stud framing, electrical, plumbing, HVAC installation in progress. And mainly, we do a lot of structural work. We need to have shoring support system, a lot of new concrete walls that needs to be poured in place, and seismic mitigation or seismic upgrade of the whole structure, which is currently in progress. Again, the target date for the completion of this project is June of 2025. We are still hoping that we can maintain that, but we are dealing with a lot of challenges and design issues that, as a lot of them is basically we have to resolve as we are moving forward. There was no other way of dealing with that. And we are working very closely with our design team, with our contractor in the field. I think we have a very good collaborative relationship with all of our stakeholders in the site, and we are trying to just move it and finish it based on this timeline. Some aerial photos from the area that we have. It's under construction. Again, this is two buildings, B3, B4. On the right-hand side of the project, you see that very first building is the music room, and the rest of that, the front that you see those trailers, is basically toward the ground lawn area. The project also consists of some site work, some ramps and staircases that goes toward the building. These are some recent photos from that areas. As you see, the site work also is in progress, and in some areas, the concrete work is complete. Some photos, again, this is the top photo is from about a year ago. The bottom one is the current condition. This is in building B4. Same, again, interior of building B4, before and after conditions. The music room, the room that I was referring to in the very first photo, the aerial one, is again very close to receive all the finishes. And as you can see it again, you can see the difference between the top and bottom photo. So the job is moving forward. And some of the, again, it's not really a beautiful photo here, but these are a lot of challenges and seismic issues that we have, and we are dealing with in the site, like adding beams here and there, adding concrete walls here and there, to make sure that we are meeting the current code and DSA or the state's requirement. And at the same time, we are keeping the building the way that it looked like when it was built originally. Again, same, you see like a lot of shoring, a lot of like scaffolding holding the structure in place while they're adding beams and columns and structural components to the building to make it seismically upgraded and meet the current requirements.
Thank you, Amin. And actually, before we move on to some of our future work at Beverly Vista, I'd like to go back to El Rodeo quickly and just point out that the site plan that we showed was a little inaccurate, and I just wanted to make sure I correct that before we move further. And oops, let's see if I can get back there. So, oops, sorry about that. Well, I apologize while I get back to that screen. And I can't exit out of the full screen. I apologize, everybody. So I'll get back to that in a minute after we go through this Beverly Vista work. A future project we're currently working on now, we just had a job walk today for the Bulldog A Wellness Center. That'll be located here on the corner of, oops, well, this is, sorry about that again. On the corner of the campus here, will be a new modular building that will match the appearance of the other buildings around it. And well, once again, it's the Bulldog E Wellness Center. We're also doing some ADA upgrades around the site to make it more accessible from the parking lot to the school. And then we also have these future projects. I'll let Mr. Solari touch on these future projects as well.
Sure. Again, these projects are mainly at the high school site to finish to that schematic design that you saw on that very first slide about the high school. We have some legacy oil wells that still need some work to be done. These are in the middle of the field. Tennis courts is going to be one of our future projects to make sure we have like 6 tennis courts standard size required to have competitions here at the site. Building C, which is athletic building, for the lack of better word, gymnasium building, that's going to be another project. The Grand Lawn, that's front of the school, and Southside athletic field. And we are, as Will mentioned, working right now on shuffling some of this stuff around, doing some value engineering to make sure to provide the Beverly Hills community with the best value for each one of these projects and make your bond dollar money extend as much as possible and finish as much as possible from this list. So in like our future presentations, if it's a town hall or it's in board meeting, we are going to come back with a very extensive time frame that shows like a master schedule and master budget and like which direction we are going on each one of these and what would be included in the scope for each one of these projects. Some of the achievements or accomplishments that we have done is like, since we are on board, it's about 8-9 months that we are serving Beverly Hills Unified School District. We went through a process, and in order to bring more clarity and transparency and more competition for any services that we are going to use in future, we did an RFPQ, and we went through selection of a new architectural services pool. So there is a group of architects that we have a board approval and we can utilize them. Same for material testing and inspection companies, that for future projects we have established a new pool, and we went through a RFPQ process for the selection of the pool. Verification and updating overall master budget. That's something that basically is referring to my explanation on the last slide. We are working very diligently to work and first define the scope or the best scope for each one of those projects, come up with the best timeline for performing that, and at the same time have a realistic budget. So the combination of that is going to be the master budget and master schedule for the remaining of your projects. And again, these two tasks are going hand to hand, the development of the master schedule and master budget, and we are very close to finish that. We are done with the majority portion of the facilities needs assessment. That's also is going to be helpful for any future project that was not listed. Is like we are going through every building and every school at Beverly Hills Unified School District and assess the condition of all the equipment, the structure and everything. And that would feed us to a future master plan and programming for any projects beyond whatever that's already defined and was not listed here. And again, the need assessment is the first step for that. We are very close to finish the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing portion of that facilities needs assessment. And the report is going to feed to one of those architects that were in the pool to provide the district with a future master plan for any future project beyond this point.
All right, and that concludes our presentation. I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Brady, and he can bring us into our question and answer period.
Thank you, Will, and thank you, Amin, so much. We predicted about 30 minutes, and we're right on schedule, so I certainly appreciate that. Some of you have joined our town halls before, and we have a very simple process, and I'll just quickly just go through some of the expectations so that everyone gets a chance. Our moderator today will be Rebecca Starkins. She is our Executive Director of Communications and Strategic Initiatives. The first thing that we do ask, and everyone's done such a good job of this already, is to just please mute your microphone unless you have been asked to unmute it. And if you're asking a question, you will be asked to unmute your microphone shortly. You will be asked to enter your question in the chat box below. Just please one question at a time, and we'll get to those. Your question isn't public. It will go directly to the moderator, which again is Rebecca Starkins. She will then call upon you to then unmute yourself, and then you can ask the question. And then when you're finished asking the question, you can just mute yourself again. If you have a follow-up question, no problem. Just put it back in the chat box below, and we'll circle back to that question so that we get to your follow-up as well. I really, again, appreciate everybody's time tonight. It's really exciting. It's so great to see these projects come together. And this is just another opportunity outside of our board meetings and our updates to provide you with some information. But this kind of format will allow us to have a little bit more of a conversation and a little bit more one-on-one when it comes to your questions. So I'm going to turn it over now to our moderator, Rebecca Starkins.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brady. I'm going to give everyone a little bit of a moment to pop their questions in, unless, of course, you have done such a sensational job in keeping everyone updated and informed at our regular board meetings that we don't have any, but I cannot imagine that that's the case. So let's give everyone just a minute or two to type away. So we have lots of staff members joining us tonight. So thank you all for taking the time to do that. We know that you are eager to see what's happening with El Rodeo and the high school. And it's nice to feel like we are all in this together again in this Zoom land. Just scrolling through and seeing lots of really fantastic community members who I'm sure have a question. Okay, this is so great. iPhone 7. Normally I get a name. Okay, iPhone 7 has a question. Please go ahead and unmute yourself. It's in relation to the Bulldog Aid Wellness Center, which we are really, really excited to be introducing into BVMS. So Will, I'll ask you to go ahead and answer this question. iPhone 7, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
I don't know if that's me, it's Tamar Seth. I just wanted clarification on which corner the Bulldog Wellness Center was located.
Oh, it'll be located on the northwest corner on Charleville and Rexford, I believe. I'm sorry.
Elm, Charleville and Elm.
Elm, sorry.
Thank you so
Yep.
much.
You're welcome.
And Sherry McDermott has a question. Sherry, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hi, thanks for doing this. I'm wondering about El Rodeo. The information that was presented didn't seem correct. My older son moved out of those facilities. I believe it was in January or right before winter break before 2016. Additionally, a decision was made to vacate that entire premise in order to finish that project faster. Don't know the exact timeline on that, but that seemed like that was several years ago, and it was supposed to be finished in, I don't know if it was 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months, but could you speak to that? Because it's showing the information presented showed this project was on time, and that's not consistent with what we've been presented in the past. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that question. Dr. Breggy, I'm going to ask if you wouldn't mind please addressing that.
Sure, not a problem. The timeline is longer than that was first anticipated. Much like the high school, the modernization program is it's a very complicated and complex program, so it has taken longer than first expected. So you're absolutely correct about that. I can tell you that is certainly unfortunate, but I can assure you that this is, as we are walking this site on a regular basis, and even just last week, it's going to be well worth the wait. It is an absolutely stunning building, and I do believe that people were misled with the timeline. It is just a very complex project that we have, and lots of challenges along the way. That certainly has stalled that project as we've gone on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Breggy. Our next question comes from Martin McDermott regarding funding. So Mr. Guzman, I will ask you to address this, please. Martin, please go ahead and unmute your microphone.
Sure. Hello. Thank you so much for your time tonight. It was just a quick question. I have lost track. Do we have does the district currently have all the funds needed for the projects presented so far? Not the future projects, but the ones that are currently, in progress.
Thank you, Mr. McDermott, for that question. That's a really important question. And I'm happy to say, yes, we do have the funds necessary to complete our projects as they stand now. And I'm really, excited about that. And, that we've been able to figure out a way to ensure that our projects are funded correctly, And we are already looking for what we can do for future projects. There is a difference, right? And as you mentioned and clarified, for the projects that we have existing, we have enough funds to complete those. It is really more so the future projects that we're looking at, seeing how we can continue to get some funding for those. And we have a lot of different things going on that we're really excited about, that we're looking to get additional funding from the state and different areas. But as far as it stands for the current projects, we do have everything that we need for the projects.
Thank you, Mr. Guzman. Okay, well, we are 5 minutes into question time and out of questions. So this is last chance. Does anybody have a question you would like to ask? We have all of the experts here ready to answer, and this is an informal discussion as opposed to, oh, one more, I hear one more coming in. So we'll just wait for that question. But as I was saying, it is an informal discussion as opposed to what is normally quite a formal structured board meeting time where you would have to submit public comment. And in this forum, we can really have that back and forth conversation. So please submit your questions and utilize this time because we have another 24 minutes allocated to make sure that you have all of your questions answered. Okay, and in they come, just a little bit of encouragement was needed. I'm going to circle back to Michelle Ziskin. Please go ahead and unmute your microphone. And this will probably be for Mr. Karat. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks so much, Rebecca. You always do such a great job moderating. Thank you, everybody, for doing this. It's very exciting that this is finally happening after us being out from 2019. I'm just wondering, because I see that the completion date is June 30th, 2024. I'm just wondering when the teachers are going to have time to set up their classrooms, and yeah, that's basically it.
Well, I can partially answer that, and then maybe I can pass it on to Mr. Solari. Well, we're anticipating being substantially complete near the end of this calendar year and the beginning of next year. And at that point, we'll start making plans for allowing the teachers and staff to move in and start moving some of their items into the classrooms and into the buildings. As we get closer to our final completion day, we'll start kind of fine tuning that day to allow for total 100% movement into the building and occupying the space. Amin, do you have anything else to add for that?
No, you covered it perfectly. Basically, the substantial or construction completion is going to be a lot earlier than that June date. So that June date is like final completed, everything, teachers are stationed in their classrooms. So if you need, hopefully on July 1st, you can start your classes.
And also just jump in. Hi, Mrs. Kind, thank you for your question. I just want to also add that there's going to be a lot of communication that takes place with a lot of options when we get closer. There's going to be a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions about moving and what do we move, what stays. And much like reconfiguration, there's going to be some long-term planning that we're going to do. And I assure you that we're going to get input from our teachers and from our office assistants and our instructional assistants and our administration. It's going to be a very big conversation, but we're going to start that long-term planning.
Thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. I just also want to acknowledge, I'm seeing a few of our neighbors have joined us, and we started a communication opportunity with our high school and El Rodeo neighbors, also our other schools. But thank you so much for being with us, and please pass on that link to your other neighbors so that they can be updated as to all of the progress that we are making. Mr. McDermott has a question about the high school and the price per foot. Mr. Guzman, this one's going to be for you, but Mr. McDermott, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question.
Absolutely. Thank you again. And this one's a bit specific, but super easy. I just wanted to, I've lost track of the price per foot for the B3, B4 renovations. I saw the total amount of about 126 million and change. But what does that work out to on a price per foot basis?
Thank you again, Mr. McDermott, for that question. I'll pass it over to Mr. Solari and see if he can answer that one. I don't have it off right in front of me right now.
I don't have the plans in front of me to calculate. So if you don't mind, if you just give me your email address, or if you send me an email, I'll get back to you. Unfortunately, I'm not in the office. I just need to have the plans in front.
And we'll make sure to put this in our next update. We've been having a lot of different updates for the bond program, so that's a nice data point, Mr. McDermott. Thank you for that, and we'll make sure to add it and include it in our next presentation.
Mr. McDermott, if you could drop your email into the chat, it just privately comes to me. I'll be sure that we address that with you privately also, in addition to that public update. Our next question comes from Yuri Hoberg, and it is in relation to the decision for the timeline for the high school. And I would like you to please go ahead and unmute your microphone and ask a question.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you everybody for this opportunity. I must say I was a little bit disappointed to see that for the future projects of the high school, even the start date was not defined, to be defined, I suppose. Can we get a better sense of when the decision will be made and when this is likely to finish? I have a child who's about to start at the high school. Is it likely that the construction will be done by the time she graduates? Can you just give me some sense of where we are? Thank you.
Mr. Karat, go for it.
Yeah, I can start, and once again, I'll let Mr. Solari finish. So in relation to the end date, well, B3, B4, as we showed, we're showing June of 2025 for final completion. Now, prior to that, just like El Rodeo, will be substantially complete more towards the end of 2024, early 25, as far as being able to start opening up those buildings and allowing people to occupy the spaces. The other projects, like for instance, the Grand Lawn and Building C, those are in design, and we are currently working on value engineering. So prior to starting those projects, we want to make sure we're getting the best value and doing what's right for the kids and the staff. I mean, do you want to add to anything on maybe Building C?
Sure, and I totally understand the concern and frustration. I have kids in high school age, and I'm again sharing your concern. There are a lot of variables involving this. What I can tell you within the next 2 months, we are gonna, as I mentioned during presentation, come back with a full master schedule that shows what would be the optimal or optimum way of finishing these projects. That has a timeline that shows, okay, what status we are in right now, when, if it's in programming or design, when that portion is going to be complete, and when can it start the construction, and what is the projected or anticipated duration for construction. So again, I cannot speak about the past, but I can tell you that within the next 2 months, you are going to see a master schedule for the whole site that shows a proposed projected schedule for every single component at the site.
Thank you so much, Mr. Solari. Our next question comes from Tamar Seth. It is in regards to fencing for the high school front lawn and security. Tamar, please go ahead and unmute your microphone and ask a question the way you feel best represented.
Thank you so much. That's just my question. What is the plan? Will there be fencing? What material will it be around the front lawn of Beverly High?
So right now we are planning on putting it's called fencing, but it's more like an ornamental fencing, gated fencing that has the high school's logo and some very architecturally pleasant monuments along Moreno as we go down from Moreno down to Olympic and up to Santa Monica. The final plan isn't complete yet, though. Like I mentioned, we're still working on value engineering items and making sure that what we put in that grand lawn area and the space in front of the high school kind of matches what the district, the students, the community need. And so we're looking at different options as far as the actual type of fence, where it will be located, and whether or not we have, drop-off areas or increased parking, things of that nature. And also we're trying to make sure that the grand lawn is a green design, so so we don't have a large lawn area in front of the high school that needs a lot of watering. We're working on drought tolerant options and other hardscape options as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Karat. Our next question comes from Ms. Leitner in relation to El Rodeo and parking. Please go ahead and unmute your microphone.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I had a question about parking for staff at El Rodeo. There had been some talk, and perhaps this is long since passed, of perhaps underground parking for staff in the future. Is that still a viable project?
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was what I was trying to allude to earlier when I was having problems with the PowerPoint. So what I'd like to do is I'll go back to the PowerPoint again and show you where there will be parking. And as soon as this starts here, this site plan that we were showing, it's an older rendering. We didn't have an opportunity to update this rendering for this presentation and showing some of the changes that have been made. Most of this area with the soccer field and the basketball courts is relatively close along with this play structure. But this area along here going around the buildings, this will all be parking here. This play area has been relocated to this area over here. So we'll have, I don't want to say plenty of parking or more than we need, but I believe we did account for having enough parking for all the teachers and the staff that will be at El Rodeo. So that'll be all along here. This will be a parking lot, and then the driveway out to Whittier through here.
Will the driveway out through Whittier, that will be the entrance as well as the exit, or will there continue to be an entrance off of Wilshire?
There'll continue to be an entrance off of Wilshire back here.
Yes.
I don't know if we finalized the idea of whether or not it'll be one way just going through here, or if we will allow two-way traffic, but I believe at this point we're planning on entrance on Wilshire and then exiting on Whittier.
May I add another question? Would that be okay, Rebecca, concerning this?
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The concern, simply as a former staff member here at El Rodeo, is carpool drop-off lane is right there on Whittier. So teachers would be exiting into carpool drop-off lane, correct?
I believe so. I mean, we'll start working on the parking and the drop off, but that is the idea. Yes, this is still going to be a drop off area. I just don't have any more information, but we will be working with our staff on finalizing the drive into the campus and off of the campus, as well as the drop off area.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Ms. Leitner, thank you for that, because that's a great reminder for us that to touch base again with our El Rodeo staff, because we want to have conversations about some of the challenges that you had in the past that we can start looking at and start planning. So thank you for that reminder. I'm going to take a note right now so that we continue to have conversation with you about what was working, what wasn't working when you were teaching at El Rodeo. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Breggy.
Sure.
Our next question comes from Sherry McDermott, and it is in relation to the district offices. So this question will be for Mr. Guzman or Dr. Breggy. Please go ahead and unmute yourself, Sherry.
Okay, so thank you. I saw that through my work that the notice went out to the broker community that the land that the district office sits on is available for ground lease. And I'm not concerned at the moment with that project at all, but only with where are you planning to move the district offices? Where will they be housed in the future when that project comes to fruition? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Ms. McDermott. So we have several different options that we're evaluating right now. A lot of it will have to do with what we see in the response to the offering memorandum that was sent out. In fact, just something nice is that we've gotten a lot of interest, and so that's always really great. Depending on what we see and depending on the numbers we see, that can influence the decision for different areas. We're looking at really just a lot of different options right now. As we get closer towards finalization of making the move, we'll make sure to truly evaluate everything that we need to do. But at this point, there's just different options on the table from different school sites, or maybe even another site, depending on what we're seeing that comes through in the offering memorandum. So more to come on that very soon.
Okay, are there any other questions that anybody has? I'm just scrolling through this chat to ensure that they have all been answered.
So while you're doing that, Rebecca, I got a note here that the parking will be more than enough for all the staff parking around El Rodeo. So we should be good on the parking aspect.
I want to acknowledge that we also have Ms. Cable with us. So the future principal of El Rodeo, if you have any questions for her, I'm sure she's happy to answer them. Oh, Yuri has a question. Here we go. It is in relation to BHHS. Yuri, please go ahead and unmute your microphone, and Mr. Karat will answer this one.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm sorry, I missed that one slide where you listed the future projects. I wasn't sure if the building A was part of it. I had the impression that was sort of an older building. Can you just confirm if there's going to be something done to that, or that is not within the scope? Thank you.
Currently, Building A is not one of the projects for, I guess, the future bond projects. We are trying to keep the appearance of Building A up with painting and other maintenance opportunities. We also are planning some restroom upgrades through our maintenance department. But otherwise, there isn't a large project planned for Building A at this time.
We do always look at our buildings in regards to deferred maintenance, and that's always something that our maintenance department looks at when we're looking at our buildings as well. So that'll be something that we'll be looking at in those areas as well.
Well, I have to say, I have been to many of these Zooms for town halls that were highly attended with some very passionate questions. And this is probably the most respectful Zoom I have ever moderated. And that tells me that we are on the right track and we are heading in the right direction with communication and with your access as a community to information when you need it. So I would like to give you all 30 seconds more to get your final questions in, and then I'm going to hand it back to Dr. Breggy, who will close us out for this evening. So you've got 25 seconds. Not to rush you. I wouldn't want to rush you. Okie dokie, Dr. Breggy, I think it's that time.
Yeah, so I want to, first of all, just thank our Board of Education for being on this Zoom call and just being part of this work. People don't get to see a lot of what happens behind the scenes, but it's complicated. It's definitely a challenge, but we're really on the right path. And we're all just super excited and we're watching everything that's going on. We want to get really innovative with you when it comes to communication. So we wanted to give this a shot and see if this is something that is appealing to you. We tried to make it as convenient as possible as far as giving you access to the material, but also to us and any questions that you have. And we're happy to do this again, and we're open to any feedback that you have in the future. We're just constantly trying to look at the communication we have, the transparency that we have. And so we're just super open to that feedback. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. This was helpful for us for sure, as we continue to look at ways to improve our communication. And just thank you very much for attending, and look forward to seeing you very soon. Have a good night, everybody.